What's up, YouTube? It's your buddy Troy here. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how to step away from the buffet. That's right. If you struggle with overeating like I do sometimes, then in this video, we're going to talk about some strategies around maybe eating a little bit less, cutting back a little bit. If you support me in that, guys, what I ask is that you take a second to subscribe to my channel. Just boop that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a thing, but it means the world to me. As always, I'd love to hear what's working well for you in the comments. It really provides a lot of value to the community. It's all about learning from one another. So, what are some ways that maybe we can cut back a little bit? What I found was very important for me on my weight loss journey. I lost over 100 pounds of body fat. In the beginning, it was very important for me to learn the types of foods that would enable me to be able to lose the weight. And what I mean by that is I had to learn how to eat clean. Now, what I've found since then, in the beginning, oftentimes if people are eating a lot of crap, if that's you, when you just begin to eat clean, you make a whole lot of progress right off the rip, right from doing that. But once you've been eating clean for a while, what you may notice then is that you're actually able to eat enough of that clean food to prevent yourself from being able to lose anymore. You end up in a stalemate, a plateau, we sometimes call that. And so what we also have to learn on our weight loss journey is we have to learn how to maybe reduce the amount of food that we're eating. And I know for me that's very difficult. So this video is about strategies around how to do that. So number one, eat clean. Avoid loud foods or trigger foods, foods that are very salty or sweet. Sometimes these foods, it's very hard to stop eating them once we start. We want to go back for more. And so what I find is if I can avoid these trigger type foods, right, and I eat more of a bland diet, it's much easier for me to eat a reasonable amount. Just imagine what it's like when you eat a loud food like some peanut butter, right, or some chips or a cupcake. It's very hard to just eat a little bit of one of those things because the taste is very intense and it lingers and it draws you back. Now imagine eating some raw almonds, right? My jaw gets tired of chewing raw almonds, right? Or imagine eating like just like plain chicken breast, right? Just like boiled chicken or chicken just cooked plain, right? Imagine that. It's very dry, right? It's very bland. It's very filling. When you eat one of those, you think to yourself, well, I've eaten something, I've fueled my body, good for me, and you can stop. So consider that, guys. Eat bland foods. Next, it seems a little silly, but for me, what I notice is that if I eat off of a smaller plate, if I eat a very small plate, that one chicken breast looks huge on a tiny plate, and it does something to my mind. It's psychological, where it tricks me. Whereas if I'm eating off of a big plate and I put a regular sized chicken breast on that big plate, something with my brain, it makes me feel like I need to eat 2 or 3 of those chicken breasts because the plate isn't full. Guys, I know it sounds ridiculous, but again, this is about mindset stuff and psychology, and if we can somehow trick ourselves, right, it may not work for everybody, but I imagine, because probably we've all been there, eating like an entire box of cereal because we're eating out of a big, enormous like bucket and we're using a large shovel, right? So imagine doing the opposite of that now, because if it's all about eating a little bit less and how to do that, for some reason, eating off of very small plates, it helps me, and I've heard that it helps other people. Next, box up, right? Put it into your food storage containers. Food that you cook before you sit down to eat, right? So you make a big old portion of whatever it is that you're making, ground turkey. And before you serve yourself a bowl of that ground turkey and go over to wherever you eat and start eating, leaving the remainder of the ground turkey on the stove, instead of doing that, what you do is you take a few of your food storage containers and you box it up. Put it into the containers, close up those containers, and put it in the fridge. And then leave a portion for yourself. Even if you want to go back, for a second portion, you put as much in your bowl as you want. You save however much you think that you want, maybe for another trip back up to the stove, if that's what you like to do. But what you don't do is you don't just leave the whole thing on the stove, because what that invites me to do is to continue to go back to the stove until the whole thing is gone. And it's a strategy, guys. You don't have to do it this way. I'd never tell you what to think or what to do, but what I find is when it comes to overeating, if I just leave the whole thing on the stove, I'm going to eat the whole thing. And as silly as it seems, if I just take the couple extra minutes to put it into a container and put that in the fridge, for whatever reason, it's like then it doesn't exist to me. It's almost like it's too much work. I'm not gonna go in to do that. So again, it's psychology stuff. It's interesting. The invitation is to try it out for yourself. Next, strategic use of the freezer. When you freeze things, it makes it so that you can't just run through them real quick, right? Like some people freeze candy, and then that prevents them from just taking an entire 4-pound bag of candy to the face in 5 or 10 minutes, like I probably could when I get on a rampage, when the floodgates open. So the freezer can prevent you from rampaging, because you have to take out a piece or two, and then it takes a while to thaw, right? And I can probably still rampage a little bit on some frozen candy, but it slows it down a little bit. And honestly, guys, in the beginning, when I first started to lose weight on my journey, what I used was freezer meals. I used those little Healthy Choice and those little lean cuisines. And the reason that they were helpful for me is because I learned how to eat less from using those things. They were very small and they were frozen. So again, there were extra steps. And I guess this laziness theme is coming up again and again with me, but that extra step of having to thaw the thing out in the microwave, it prevented me from overdoing it with those. So in the beginning, I allowed myself 2, no more, and then I would allow myself 1. And through that, and seeing that I could do it, helped me build the confidence to do it. And that's what this is about for you. It's just like riding a bike. Once you see you can do it, then you're like, oh. So baby steps. Use the strategic freezer solution. Freeze your stuff so you can't overeat it. Next, plan for activities after dinner. Plan for a walk. Plan to take the dog out. If your family likes badminton or tennis, plan some light sports in the evening after dinner. And what that does is that provides us an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? We're on to the next thing. And what I find to be very helpful is when I get done eating dinner, right before I go out to do that activity, whatever, I brush my teeth. And then for some reason, when I brush my teeth, right, then again, it just sort of gets that taste of the food out of my mouth, and it makes it easier for me to move on to the next thing. Then I'll just try to do water for the rest of the night. And so plan a walk, plan to take the dog, some type of light sport. Plan for something after dinner so that you don't go from eating dinner to just sitting on the couch watching TV, stuffing your face right up until bedtime. Because when I do that, I feel like crap. Next, let's say maybe you don't want to go out for a walk or take the dog or do a sport or whatever after dinner. But guys, I know I'm going to be flip-flopping on this issue, and I took a lot of flack for saying anything bad about this topic before, so this time I'm coming out in support of it. This can actually really help you on your weight loss progress, and what I'm talking about is playing video games. That's right, guys. Video games for fat loss. And the reason this works is because it ties up your hands. So you can't sit on the couch and watch TV and stuff your face, which requires your hands, right? Imagine holding the bag of chips and you got a remote control and you're stuffing your face with Fritos. Well, guess what? Now imagine that you have your game controller. So you can't stuff your face. And I've heard from a lot of people who quit smoking that one of the reasons why they gain weight when they quit smoking is because their hands are free, because they're not smoking anymore. So they start stuffing their face with Twizzlers and cheese puffs and whatever else. So in this context, video games can actually help you put the plate down, tie up your hands, right? Put the fork down, tie up your hands so you're not stuffing your face. And I'd love to hear how that works for you. I know there's a lot of gamers on this channel. So with that, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.